Hi there, it's Nicole for Spellbinders, and today I've got 7 cards from the March 2019 card kit to share with you. Many of the cards are created with the pre-made accents and pattern papers, as well as cardstock and card bases from the kit. Plus, I have a couple of cards featuring the awesome Relax and Enjoy dies, the exclusive die collection in this kit. One's on a pattern background and one is a little bit more cardstock and simpler on a white background. When you open up the kit, you get this idea sheet. There is a stamp set included in the kit. I will be using a sentiment from this on one of my die cut cards. Here is the 6x6 paper pad for March. We're going to go ahead and open that up and take a look at the pattern paper included this month. I'm going to use several of the patterns throughout this 6x6 paper pad on my card examples. Beautiful designs, a lot of foiling and things, some fantastic florals, wood grain. Here are the 10 note cards and 10 envelopes that come in this, so you automatically can easily create 10 cards plus many more. A roll of double-sided adhesive. There are some Relax and Enjoy sticker sentiments. These beautiful vellum butterfly stickers. Some 3x4 little note cards that can be used as accents on cards, used in project life or pocket scrapbooking. These are double-sided, so you actually get a choice of which side you want to use. Here are the dies from the kit. I'm going to go ahead and pop those onto a magnetic sheet. I think they're a little bit easier to see. You get loads of dies. So you're going to get the cactus. You are going to get florals, leaves. There's sequins in the kit as well. I'm just going to pop all of these pieces out. There is the Relax and Enjoy sentiment dies. Some foam adhesive squares. And I'll show you the die cut accents here in a second. There is also cardstock included in the kit. 8.5 by 11 sheets of cardstock, a piece of foiled cardstock. So lots and lots of fantastic product in this kit, and it all comes in this beautiful box. Let's go ahead and move that out of the way. One of my favorite components of the card kit each month is these die cut accents, and I'm just going to show you all of them. If you are looking for a way to make quick and easy cards, this is a fantastic way to do so. You can create many cards with these awesome die cuts. You could use them in scrapbooking. You could use them in all kinds of other journaling type projects, art journals, whatever you might like to do. There's some quotes. There are accents, there's little banners, which I think that those are always fantastic for card making. You get 2 of each design. So keep in mind, anything you see here, you're getting 2 of each. That big ampersand is beautiful. I often like to group things together, like items together, so I will group florals together. Or like these houses, if I think maybe I want to use those on a card, I will group those together. The newspaper, the stacks of books, I'll group together. If there's multiple butterflies, I want to group those together. Heart accents, lots of other greetings. When I open up this package and start working with these, I will often kind of lay like items together or things, accents, sentiments, banners that I think I want to try to use together. I will lay those together so that I can easily find those and then kind of play around with those items and see if I want to use those together like I thought I did when I initially opened this up. Things change for sure. Cute little cactus in a pot, coffee accents, more little sentiment strips. These are always fantastic, already pre-made, no stamping required for those. Little wood grain hearts, this beautiful floral circle, and many of these die cuts have gold or rose gold foiling on them, so they look really beautiful with that foil cardstock in the kit. They look fantastic with the 6x6 paper pad that has foiling. Very, very fun. Here is a look at all of the dies. I'm going to go ahead and finish attaching these to my magnetic sheet. Just kind of playing around, seeing what all we have here. There is both a large and small cactus, a butterfly, greenery, leaves, flowers, the relax and enjoy sentiment, and then the little heart piece that can be used as a frame, as well as the container that you can use to put the cactus in. Let's go ahead and get started with some of our quick and easy cards. All of the cards I'm sharing today are a little bit more on the quick and easy side. However, these first 5 cards I will be sharing don't feature the die cuts, so it's a lot of pre-made items. The pre-made foiled die cuts, pattern paper, cardstock, quick and easy. I'm going to start by trimming down this floral paper and matting it on some of the sage green cardstock from the kit. I'm going to go ahead and trim that down a little bit more narrow. This floral paper in the kit is beautiful. I love it on the sage green cardstock. In the kit, some of the pre-made die cuts included. There's a couple of little scallop borders, which I always love. Then there's this fantastic sentiment. And to make this a little more interesting, because this is a very clean and simple card, we're going to pop this up with some foam adhesive. I'm using some of those foam adhesive squares from the kit. The greeting reads, "The little unremembered acts of kindness and love are the best parts of a person's life." William Wordsworth. So very, very pretty. I think against the floral background, you want to keep your card maybe a little more simple because it is a busy background, but the black background on this sentiment makes this pop against the floral. And then as accents, we are going to use a couple of the beautiful vellum stickers from the kit. And I did play around with these a little bit. I started kind of at an angle, and I decided to frame up my sentiment instead by putting one at the top and one at the bottom. I will tell you that I don't think the adhesive is super sticky on these, and if you don't want them to fall off, I would put a little liquid adhesive or a stronger adhesive behind the center part of the body and glue those down in place so you don't have to worry about those going anywhere. We're going to attach this to one of the white cardstock note cards in the kit. And this is about the time I thought it would be fun to add the little foiled borders. So I'm going to put a little adhesive along the line of each of these. It would have been easier if I had figured this out or known I wanted to do this prior to gluing everything else down. But I am able to tuck this underneath the edge of my pattern paper fairly easily. I'm just trying to center it between the top and bottom of the card because it isn't quite as tall as the card. And we're going to glue that down in place, and it adds a beautiful little elegant touch of foiling down the side of the card. And I want to just kind of work that gently underneath the pattern paper. And I'm working slowly because I want to get this as even as possible before I press it down in place. And there is a look at the first card all finished. Next, I was very drawn to the stacks of books, the potted cactus, the newspaper, and the individual little notebook or whatever you want to call it. So I'm taking a couple of the pattern papers from the kit. We're going to use a floral background trimmed to A2 size, which is 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. And then we're going to take some foam adhesive back behind a strip of the wood grain paper and pop this along the bottom edge of the card. What we're doing is creating a little countertop or shelf that we're tucking our books, our potted plant, and our newspaper and notebook on. I also trimmed another really thin strip from this same wood grain paper, and I'm going to pop it on top just to give it a little definition. It's the same color of pattern paper on top, but it's going to go a little bit different direction, and I think it gives a little bit more of that countertop type of look and appeal. To help the stacks of books and the cactus really pop off of the background, I'm going to adhere these with foam adhesive. We've adhered our wood grain paper with foam adhesive, so it's going to be very easy to tuck the edge of this die cut underneath the edge of the wood grain paper, since they're both popped up a little bit. This will also help pop this off of a busy background by using the foam adhesive. It wouldn't go underneath the edge really well, so I went ahead and trimmed off a little bit of the white, and then I'm going to place that stack of books right there. I'm going to tuck the potted cactus on top of the books. It will hang off the top edge of this background a little bit. We can trim that off with some scissors. And then I want to add the newspaper die cut, and I just needed to trim that off up as well because I want to tuck it underneath the edge, and the notebook. And that is the accents for this card. For the sentiments, we're going to use some of the sentiment stickers included in the March kit to build our greeting. And I think I started out with a sentiment that says happy thoughts, and I changed my mind, and I ended up changing my sentiment instead to happiness is good coffee and a good book, because I felt like that worked with the design of this card a little better. Let's go ahead and move on to our So Lovely floral background card. I am a huge fan of wood grain pattern paper, and so I took the wood grain paper, I trimmed it down, and I'm going to mat it on some of the kind of coppery colored cardstock or foil cardstock in the kit. And then we're going to layer the florals. So there's a couple of pink florals and some green florals. We're just going to layer those in a grouping in the center of this panel or this strip that goes down the center of our white card base. And I'm just tucking these pieces because we're going to layer our sentiment over the center, which will kind of hide anywhere that maybe doesn't look super great layered, although I think this turned out awfully pretty. This is a really feminine design card. I love the pinks and greens against the brown. And I like these two pink flowers kind of at an angle better. Once I have those all in place where I want them to go, we can figure out our sentiment. And I love the So Lovely die cut sentiment, and we're going to pair that with some of the sentiment strip stickers. But I want to attach the So Lovely part with foam adhesive so it pops off of those flowers again. When working with pre-made die cuts and pattern paper and things, I think it's very helpful to use some type of dimension or some finishing product. In this case, we're going to use some Nuvo Crystal Drops and White Blizzard over the letters to make them sparkly. We're going to scatter some sequins throughout the card. Little touches that dress up these pre-made elements. These cards come together super fast, but these are little quick and easy ways that you can add instant interest to pre-made type items. I've pieced both large and small scrapbook adhesives, foam adhesive squares behind my sentiment. And we are going to just position this, again, as I mentioned, over the center of the design. And that is really pretty. It's going to be even more pretty with the Nuvo crystal drops in white blizzard over the letters, making those letters sparkly. I like to just draw right over these. You're going to want to let this sit and dry. When you're creating droplets, they suggest you let this dry for a good 24 hours before mailing. When you're applying it more flat or painting it on more, I don't think it takes quite as long to dry, but I would probably still let it dry the 24 hours before you put this in an envelope, just to be on the safe side, especially because I'm going to add droplets then to the center of the sequins that I scatter throughout the background. And those will require 24 hours to dry completely. Here are those sequins. You can see there's some really big ones, there's some little bit smaller ones, and we just want to take those and glue them in place throughout the card. You could leave the sequins as is. You could layer them, layer some of the smaller ones in the bigger ones. You could take contrasting colors of sequins, other gemstones, rhinestones from your stash, place those in the center of these if you wanted to. I opted, since I already had the Nuvo crystal drops in white blizzard out, to put clear droplets. I had considered maybe doing white droplets, and I changed my mind and decided to do the clear ones. So they're going to have little sparkly centers, and it's not going to change the color of the sequin. They're still going to be that really pretty brown, metallic-y type of color. And then I'll add the sentiment "You Are" above the word "so," and "Happy Birthday" below "Lovely." And here I'm changing the sentiment on the bookshelf card that we just did. Happiness is good coffee and a good book. Because as I was looking for the sentiments for the floral card, I kind of came across that sentiment I liked better, and so I went ahead and used that. So we're placing "You Are" above the word "so" and "Happy Birthday" below "Lovely" for a very pretty feminine birthday card. And there's loads of these sentiment strip stickers. You can use these on all kinds of cards. You could use them in scrapbooking, other paper crafting, art journaling. So cool. Next, we are going to create a more landscape style card with a couple of butterflies. This is super simple. We are matting the polka dot pattern paper on kind of the purple. It was more of a chevron design, but I'm only going to use the part where you can kind of see some lines. I think that frames up the polka dot beautifully. Then we're going to use a butterfly die cut with the gold foiled or rose gold foiled edge. We're going to use the Just a Note banner and another one of those vellum butterfly stickers. I'm going to trim off any of the excess pattern paper that hangs off the edge of the card. And then we want to play around a little bit. This is where I like to try to use like items on a card. In this case, I thought I would use 3. I often use odd numbers of embellishments, but I felt like the 2 fit this design a little bit better. So we're going to use this big butterfly die cut. I'm going to put foam adhesive behind the wings on this, and behind the body some liquid adhesive, and we're going to glue the body directly to the card, but the wings will be popped up a little bit. This is one of my favorite tips when using butterfly accents, as it gives the wings a little bit more movement on the card. They're not going to move, but it gives the illusion that they're popped up so that, you know, as a butterfly does move. I'm using some tweezers to hold the body of the butterfly down in place while that liquid glue dries. And then I did play around with placement a lot. As I mentioned, I really thought I would use 3 butterflies, and I just couldn't ever totally fall in love with the 3 butterflies on this card. Just wasn't working visually for me. And so we're going to opt to put one down in that lower right corner instead. You could also use that smaller die cut butterfly that you see on the right side of the screen. That could be used in lieu of the vellum butterfly sticker if you wanted to. You could also just stick with the single butterfly for a very simple card. Now on the Just a Note banner, we're again going to take Nuvo Crystal Drops in White Blizzard and trace over those letters with our nozzle to make a glittery sentiment. When this dries, it's going to dry clear and iridescent and add a nice little touch of sparkle to our card. And I did move that butterfly over just a little bit in the finished card design. I decided to create another shelf because I liked the bookshelf that I did earlier so much that this time we're going to create a portrait style card with the little bookshelf, and we're just going to keep the background of the card white, and on this shelf we're going to tuck coffee mugs, another one of that cactus plant, potted plant, and we're going to put the stack of books down near the base. I used a lot of the same die cuts, but just in a different way. So because we get 2 of everything in the kit, you can create multiple cards with the same images. We're going to pop up the Be Happy banner. I'm going to use some foam adhesive behind that. Kind of center it up here. I almost looked at this as a coffee shop window, if you will, where there's some signs hanging or something like that in the design element of this card. Then we're going to pop up our die cuts. We've popped up the wood grain paper along the bottom edge of the card again, and we're going to pop up the elements for that subtle dimension. And I'm tucking and layering everything. So some of the mugs are behind other ones. The potted plant is behind that mug in the center. And then the stack of books that we will be adding is going to be adhered directly to our card, to that wood grain pattern paper. Since we've already popped up the wood grain pattern paper, I tend to like to not create too many layers of foam adhesive, as it makes mailing the cards a little more difficult. I trimmed off that white along the bottom edge again so I could line up the books with the bottom edge of this pattern paper. This time, instead of Nuvo Crystal Drops, I'm going to take glossy accents and trace over the letters on Be Happy. This is just going to give them a glossy raised finish, but really not change the overall appearance so much of the sentiment. We'll simply draw your eye in to the Be Happy sentiment and make it a little bit raised and, like I said, glossy. I like to use a fine tip nozzle on my glossy accents. I've taken that and added that to the coffee and the mugs as well so that that is glossy. And then we're going to pop one of the sentiment stickers. It's a great day underneath the Be Happy sentiment. And that is my 5 cards featuring some of the die cuts and pre-made items from the kit. Next, I want to show a couple of samples using the exclusive Relax and Enjoy dies. I've used one of the pattern papers from the kit here, and we're going to use all cardstock from the kit to create this card design. So this first card features lots of components from the kit. In fact, everything except for my stamped sentiment is from the kit here on the first card. That includes the cardstock I used to die cut the cactus, the foiled cardstock for the planter, the cardstock for the flowers, the leaves, the die cut sentiment. All of this is from the kit. My second card example is going to feature the exclusive dies, but instead I'm going to use the Fun Stamper's Journey cardstocks in some brighter colors maybe, and just simply attach that to a white card base from the kit, but we'll use a sentiment stamped from the stamp set from the kit. So you can use these products with the kit, or you can use them with supplies you have on hand. So just kind of extends the life after you have used your pattern papers, your cardstock, and the other pre-made items from the kit. Your dies can still be used to die cut these images from anything that you have on hand, any cardstock or paper that you have in your stash. I'm building this cactus here, and as I mentioned, I die cut the elements all from the sage green cardstock included in the kit. And I am layering the layered pieces. It's all the same color. So there's actually 3 layers. There's the base layer, then there is the outline layer, and finally there are the thorns, the stickers, on the cactus. All of these were die cut from the same cardstock. The flowers on the tips of the smaller arms of the cactus are layered blue cardstock from the kit. I opted for blue since it really pulled out the color of the pattern paper that I'm layering this on. And then I found a stamp set in my stash from Honeybee Stamps that says, "Don't let the prickly things in life get you down," that I thought was cute and worked with this design. I stamped this on some of the white cardstock included in the March kit using a black ink, trimmed it into thin strips, and then attached it to my card. Relax and Enjoy is the dies included in the March kit. I die cut them from both white cardstock and black cardstock, and I'm slightly offsetting the white cardstock on the black, so it gives it a little bit of a shadowed look, and it also makes it stand out from the background so it's much easier to read. And I'm going to tuck that next to the cactus over there on the right, and we're going to layer one of the florals die cut from white cardstock down there near the base of the cactus, and we're going to tuck a couple of leaves down there as well. The center of the flower is die cut from that kind of copper foiled cardstock, and I'm going to add little touches of glue to my cactus and add those thorns, which adds fantastic texture and just interest to the die cut design. I'm using a crystal katana to easily pick up these little pieces and pop them in place. And I want to do that on the entire cactus for consistency. And there's a look at the finished card. As I mentioned, this final card is going to feature cardstock from my stash. This is the Fun Stamper's Journey cardstocks, and a sentiment from the stamp set included in the March kit that reads, "Let's stick together." Before I glue any of these die cut elements down, which I did off camera to save some time, I want to stamp my sentiment along the bottom edge of the card with black ink. And I'm going to use the Misty just in case I need to stamp that more than once, although it stamped perfectly the first time. This is a very clean and simple card, and I went with brighter colors of cardstock just to show the versatility of the dies in this kit. We're going to build the cactus again in the planter. The planter was die cut from the same copper cardstock. I find that the copper cardstock that is included in many of the month's kits really goes a long way. I have lots of this, and I save all those little bits and pieces to die cut from. We're going to tuck the large cactus piece in first, And this time I'm using 2 complementary shades of cardstock, so kind of similar colors, but not the same color. And that's going to give a little bit more depth and dimension maybe to the die cut. We're going to take that greenery leaf and we're going to tuck that kind of back behind in the planter. We'll tuck another small piece of the cactus down into the front of the planter, and then we'll just go ahead and create another little, I like this little piece up here at the top. And that also gives some nice height to the cactus in the planter. But we've tucked in a little greenery. I love the look of adding florals down near the base. I did that on the last card. We're going to do the same thing on this one, except we're going to, instead of just 1 flower, we're going to have 2 on the right side and 1 on the left. And these are all going to be in bright colors, reds and pinks and purples. And then there's even a butterfly die included in this, and we are going to die cut that from a couple shades of blue cardstock and add that to our card as well. Any of the small pieces, like the centers of the flowers, I'm using my crystal katana to pick these up and pop them in place. I am gluing everything down with liquid adhesive. I don't have to worry about it going anywhere with liquid adhesive once it's dry. It is stuck where it's going to be. So oftentimes with any small die cuts, or if I'm building a big scene like this, I like to use liquid adhesive. But you have to make sure, I often will lay everything out first because you want to make sure that once you put it down, that's where you want it to go, because there's not a lot of movement or change that can happen once you've glued it in place. And I love the way this sentiment looks stamped in black against the white background and then all of the colorful die cuts. Just like the last cactus, we're going to add some little dots to this one of glue and then pick up the thorns with the sticker part with the crystal katana and pop these in place onto our cactus. And that will finish up this card, with the exception of the butterflies, which you can see I haven't quite glued down yet, but I will glue those 2 little butterflies off to the side. And we'll add just another thorn or 2 to the card, and that will finish it up. I'm going to put some acrylic blocks on top after I have glued everything down in place, just to hold everything flat and secure until the liquid adhesive dries all the way. Let's go ahead and take a look at all of the cards one more time. We have some cards created with die cuts from the kit, patterned papers, cardstock, card bases, vellum stickers, sentiment stickers, the sequins, the foam adhesive, and the dies and stamp set from the March kit. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this set of 7 cards featuring the Spellbinders March 2019 Card Kit of the Month. The supplies I used to create these cards are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more videos featuring Spellbinders card kits that you might be interested in. Thanks for joining me today, and we'll catch you next time.